Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on the Dungeon Dive, we are taking a look at a prototype copy of a Kickstarter preview that will be hitting Kickstarter in just a couple days after this video posts, and that is for Rogue Angels, Legacy of the Burning Suns. I have heard this game be called Mass Effect on your tabletop, and I think that's a really good description for it. In one of my earlier videos on what is an RPG, I talked a little bit about that relationship between the video game space and the tabletop space, and how in the early days, the tabletop space was influencing the video game space. And then you started having video games influencing tabletop games. And then you had a new kind of younger group of designers coming up who grew up more with video games who are now making tabletop games. And Rogue Angels definitely feels like something in that vein. If you are a fan of Mass Effect, if you are a fan of computer RPGs, there is a lot going on in this game that I think you will really appreciate. As a matter of fact, in between missions, in between doing the tactical things on the map in this game, you will be involved in cutscenes. Yes, they actually call the kind of in-between mission things in this game cutscenes, where you are interacting with NPCs and having story delivered to you. It's a really good time right now to be into science fiction things. Starfield was just released a couple days ago, and boy howdy, let me tell you, I am loving that game. I know there are some naysayers out there, but I am having so much fun with Starfield. Just in a couple days, I've already put in something like 15 hours, and I feel like I haven't even done anything. That game is just absolutely massive. If you are into science fiction, man, that game is great. Recently, I enjoyed the heck out of Silo, the mini-series on Apple TV, and I'm looking forward to the second series of that, the second season. And then, of course, we have coming out in December, we have Rebel Moon from Zack Snyder, and I have watched that Rebel Moon trailer like 10 times, and every time I watch it, I get more and more excited. I love that kind of planetary romance, sword and planet vibe that Rebel Moon is going for. It reminds me a lot of John Carter. And John Carter of Mars, I think, is a very, very highly underrated movie, a great kind of space pulp adventure movie. But I think Rogue Angels is fitting in that space. It's kind of fitting in this new space of science fiction. And I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. Now, this is a big epic campaign game with a big epic campaign book that you will be working through with lots of maps, lots of characters. It is somewhat of a legacy style game, but the legacy is not permanent. You will be writing on things with dry erase markers and sticking on removable stickers. So you won't be tearing stuff up or permanently changing things. Just your progress through the campaign will be a legacy style as you unlock things, but then you can reset it. So let's talk a little bit about what we get in this prototype. I can show you, and then talk a little bit about the different elements of this game. I'll give you a brief kind of gameplay example, and we'll just talk about some of the things as we go. So the focus on any kind of game like this, a tactical skirmish game, a narrative dungeon crawl, is of course the characters. And in this prototype, there are 4 different characters. We have Sigyn, we have Basilis, we have Koroks, and Melithus. I have been playing through the tutorial and learning the game using Basilis and Koroks. And those are the characters here. Now, each of the characters will have their own kind of dossier that you will keep track of during the campaign. You will have a little story, and then inside the story will be more things about that character. And then you will have a sheet of reusable stickers, probably those like plastic static cling type stickers. And you can peel those off, and you will stick those to your cards on various spaces to make your moves, to make your powers more powerful. Each of the characters will come with a character sheet. Now, one side is used for the first mission. I am showing the tutorial mission right now, but I am using the non-tutorial side to demonstrate some things. So each of the characters will have their own special attack or their own special ability. They will have a place to keep track of their focus. And these are things where you can use, it's a currency that you can use to re-roll dice and that kind of thing. You will keep track of how many shields you have. That will help you mitigate damage. You will keep track of how many scars you have throughout the campaign. You will take scars, and those will kind of permanently change your character in a negative way. And then you also have a number of stats over here, and those are called personality traits, I believe. And each one of those will be corresponding to this color. So we have red, green, yellow, and blue. And we have dominating, inspiring, cautious, and supportive. And each one of those little white areas, those can be colored in by a dry erase marker in the final version of the game. And then each time you start a mission, you will get a certain number of tokens that correspond to what you have shaded in. So I am just saying, I'm going to say that I had 2 yellows and a green on this character as I'm taking them into this mission, just for some examples later on. And those tokens, those personality tokens, you can spend to boost your powers, to boost your abilities. And each one of these characters starts the game with 7 basic abilities, 7 action cards. And these action cards have different values, different things. We have abilities, we have basic abilities, we have gear, we have more advanced abilities, and we have weapons and gear, explosives, translators, all kinds of different things. And every single character's starting hand has a few different cards, has the same basic card, so a basic interact and a basic move. And these will help you to be able to move around the map and to interact with various things on the map. And then 5 cards that will be different for each of the characters. And those will dictate, again, what weapons, what special abilities they have, and what special gear they have. Now, some of the art in this prototype is not finished yet, so you will just be seeing the kind of placeholder art on those cards. I think the characters are pretty interesting. I like how they can upgrade those personality traits, and that will allow them to spend those bonus tokens to make those abilities more powerful. And so as you level up your character, you will be able to level up those various abilities, and you will also be able to put stickers on your character card to add more abilities to your character. And then each one of the characters will also come with a personal storybook that you read through while you are on the campaign, and you will be able to check certain things off for your personal story and mission. But I think so far, I think the writing has been pretty good. Korax, so let's read Korax's origin here. So you will read this before the tutorial mission. Veteran of 100 battles, stoic, honorable Korax has seen most of what the galaxy has to offer in terms of conflict. From the ancient phantom wars over 1,000 years ago to recent skirmishes with Reavers, you have been a strong and loyal shield for galactic police. As a member of a dying race with vanishingly small numbers, you have learned to be careful yet decisive. You remember the loss of countless comrades as they sacrificed themselves in the last great conflict. Sometimes you wonder why you were among the few to survive. Perhaps it was a chance, as so many things are. Perhaps your destiny still awaits. The last decades you have traveled assembly space, participating in an increasing number of small skirmishes. Reavers, Hellfire pirates, rumors of wraiths. Something is brewing. Armed with your Titan sword shock front, you have joined a small mercenary band on a hunch. If there is a new conflict on the way, it has to be stopped before another disaster occurs. You must prevent it at any cost. Another thing you will be keeping track of throughout the campaign with your character is their relationship with certain NPCs. And so far we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 NPCs in this prototype version. I'm sure there will be an additional NPC there, but you can gain bonus points or negative points, good points or bad points with your relationships with these NPCs, depending on the choices you make in those cutscenes, depending on how the various missions unfold. you will get bonuses and penalties for your relationships with these NPCs, and then those will trigger also certain things during the campaign. And so each one of the characters will come with kind of a dossier like that you will be able to keep track of all of your things. And then also, so the other character I'm playing as is Basilis here, and he is a neomorph species. One cool thing is like the player characters that we have access to in this prototype aren't your kind of typical Space Marines. And I'm sure there are some Space Marines, because in the full version of the game, I think there's going to be 16 playable characters, and that is quite a lot. But so Koroks here I'm playing as, he's a guardian. His gender is male. I'm also playing as Basilis here, and he's a neomorph, kind of a Naga type character. And then you will also have some more information on your dossier, on your folder, that you'll be keeping track of everything. Now, as you progress through the campaign, there is going to be a spaceship that your mercenary crew, this is kind of like their home base. And this will actually be a box. And I'm pretty sure you will be able to interact with things on your ship, because there is also a deck of ship upgrade cards, so you can upgrade your ship, you can upgrade your home base. But because this will also be a box, this is also going to be the box where you save everything. So you will throw in all of your characters, all of your characters' cards, all of your legacy elements into this box, this small box that fits inside the bigger box, to keep track of things from one game to the next. So it sounds like the designer has put a lot of thought into making it as easy as possible to keep things going from one game to the next. So the campaign book is pretty massive. This prototype version is almost 230 pages. And from what I can tell, there will be multiple campaigns. Now, this is not just a simple campaign book where you will look at it at the beginning of a game session and then maybe at the end of a game session, and where it just kind of sets up the missions and then you kind of stow it away. This campaign book is more of a game book. You will probably want to keep this opened on your table while you are playing the game, because each mission you will refer to certain things that happen on the game board, will trigger certain interactions in the game book, and then you will have like a cutscene, like they have called them. You will look at the campaign book, make choices, then depending on how things unfold, how things transpire, what decisions you make, the game board, the map will get updated while you are playing. So it's not just a read a mission, do a mission, read a conclusion, and so on. There's more interaction with the game book and the map and the characters than in some other campaign style games. And so at the beginning of a mission, you will have a little cutscene, you will read some interactions with NPCs, you might make some choices, you might be told to flip to certain pages, but then eventually you will reach the point where you are going to set up your map. And there's a pretty good kind of legend system about how you set up your map, how things progress. Because as I said, as you are playing a mission, the map will be updated depending on what happens. Certain doors might unlock because you have interacted with certain computer consoles, or you've made a choice to interact with an NPC a certain way, so that might unlock other things on the map. And you will keep track of your enemies. How your enemies come out on the board will be shown here, and what happens in between each update. So as you're playing through a mission, the missions will update. So this tutorial mission, you have a starting state here, and then as you do one thing, that will be you'll have mission update 1, and then mission update 2 is where some of the enemies come in, and then you will also have mission update 3, mission update 4. This is the aftermath. This is what you read after you have completed the mission, and then you move on to the next mission, and so on. So there is more interaction with this campaign book. It does feel more like a game book than just a mission book that you will be that will tell you how to set up a mission. So now let's take a look at some of the cards you will get. And as you progress through the campaign, the main way you will upgrade your characters and level up is through those personality traits. You'll be gaining those tokens that you can spend to do things with your cards. And you will also be unlocking different cards that are called shared cards. And these will go in your legacy box. These will be stowed in your spaceship. And then at the beginning of each mission, these shared cards, these can be shared with all of the people who are going on the mission, all of your various characters. So your starting hand is 7 basic cards. And then you can have, I think it's up to 9 cards in your hand. And so you can take any new cards that you have unlocked. You can swap those out with the cards in your starting deck. Or you can just add 2 cards. Just whatever you want to make a combination of 9. But this is the main way that you will be upgrading your action cards, is you will have these new cards that you can add to your deck. So you have different weapons. You will have different tech packs. So these are different kind of technologies that you can take into each mission. We might have some different agent packs here. And then there are also companions. So you can have companions that you can bring with you. These are little pets. There are these story companions, and these are some of the NPCs that you will be interacting with. And sometimes these might come out and these might help you on a mission as well. You might have some crew members that you can unlock for your spaceship. There's also a large deck of damage cards. And these damage cards, these will kind of clog up your action spaces. And we'll talk a little bit about how the actions work, but you'll get a whole bunch of those as well. Now, these are just the prototype cards, so I'm sure there's going to be many more ways to upgrade your character and to upgrade your ship. But I did want to talk about these briefly. Another thing that you'll get with your game is these interaction tokens. Now, these are definitely prototypes, so I think these are kind of funny. I don't think you'll be seeing little happy faces on your on the standard chips that you get, but you will also get a bag. And this is your interaction bag. And as you interact, there's all kinds of like thread and strings in this interaction bag that are coming out. So just ignore all these black strings everywhere. But as you interact with things such as doors on the map, you might have these consoles here. There might be some doors on the map that you have to interact with to open a door. You will have to play kind of a little bag drawing mini game where you play an interaction card. And then you will be able to interact with this bag a certain number of times. And you will reach into the bag and you will draw a certain number of these tokens out. Whites are random. Whites are wild. They can be anything. And then there are 4 other colors, I believe. There are red, yellow, and purple. Red, yellow, and purple. Those are the main colors. And then whites are random, or whites are wild. And then you want to have 3 of the same matching color in order to successfully interact with whatever object on the map you are interacting with. So to open this door, you would need 2 purples and a white. So that would be 3 purples, and then this door would be opened. To hack this console, you would need the same thing. You would need maybe 3 reds or 2 reds and a white. So you're looking to get matching colors. And as you get matching colors, those are removed from the bag, so you kind of know what is left in the bag. There are 8 of each color, I believe, and 4 wilds. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of a neat little bag drawing mini game that adds some suspense. And you can also, those successes are banked from one turn to the next. So you don't need to get all of your successes in one turn. One character can come over to the console. They can try to hack it. They can add 2 successes. And then on the next player's turn, they can move over to the console and they can add a success. So you can work together. There's a lot of teamwork in this game. If you value highly tactical gameplay with a lot of teamwork and working together, creating combos with the different characters, I think there's going to be a lot in this game for you. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about how the card play works. And I think there is a lot of interesting things that are happening between the cards, the dice, and your personality tokens, your tokens here that you can spend to upgrade your abilities. So each of your character's abilities will have a cooldown number at the top here. That's their timer. So we have everything from 0 to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you play these cards, you will place them on the appropriate timer. And then as you take rest actions or at the end of your turn, those cards will go down. And then once they're on spot 1, then the next time they go back to your hand. Some of the basic actions have a 0 cost time or 0 time cost. And those can be played at any time. They immediately return back to your hand when you, after you have done that action. And those are a basic move action and a basic interact action. Let's take a look at the basic move action, and this will give you some insight into how this system works. So this is a move action. You get to move one square and one tile, and you can move in any direction orthogonally or diagonally. You can move diagonally between things. You can't move through red bordered spaces, a kind of typical dungeon crawl style movement. However, you also get to add one dice to this 1d6 to this ability. So you will roll that. If you roll any numbers, those numbers get added to the numbers in the bracket. So now that would allow me to move 2. If I rolled a +2, that would allow me to move 3. If I rolled a shield, that would allow me to move 1 and add a shield to my character. If I rolled this extra 2 movement, that is also an additional 2 movement, so that would give me a 3 movement. This will allow you to add movement to another action. So let's say you were firing your gun and your gun didn't have any movement and you rolled this D6 here and you had a 2 movement. You could actually incorporate the use of your weapon with the movement from the D6, from that action dice. So I think that is really cool because you will have a guaranteed something you can do because of the power on the card, but you will also have a little bit of randomness to what you can do because of the dice. Okay, but let's say I wanted to play a little more complex card, like this Cipher interface glove. I can interact with an adjacent object for 1, so that's the main thing I can do. And I would get to roll 3 dice to add any elements to that interaction. So that would give me a +1, +2, 4, so that's 5. So in interact action, I can now draw 5 tokens from the interact bag. However, if I had any of my red personality tokens, I could also spend those to deal 2 damage to an adjacent enemy. So as your cards become more powerful, you will be able to spend your personality traits, your tokens here, in order to do additional powers on each card. Another interesting thing about how this works is the numbering system here. So I have this proton power bank, and it has a cooldown of 1. Both of your basic actions have a +1d6. So if I were to play that on my slot 1 there, now each one of these 2 actions, the move action and the basic interact action, will now get to roll 2d6 to add some bonuses. However, I also have another card that has a 1 for cooldown, and this is a tail defense. Now you can only have 1 card on each slot, but if I wanted to play that 1, I could play it at a higher cooldown rate. So now that 1 is actually a cooldown of 2. And so that maybe isn't a very efficient use of that card because it is clogging up another spot, and it's also causing this card to have 1 more spot of cooldown, 1 more time of cooldown. But sometimes you do want to do that because of building up a combination or doing more than one thing on a turn at a specific slot. And so you will have various cards in your hand, all with various cooldowns, and learning how to build up combinations, learning how they cool down and what that triggers and how to make your abilities more powerful is one of the main kind of tactical decision points you will be making in this game. Now, as you start taking damage, and damage is offset by the number of shields that you have, but if any damage goes through to your characters don't have hit points. As you take damage, these slots will start to become full with these damage cards. If all slots are full, then your character is unconscious. And these cards, they will come in at the cooldown slot shown on the damage card. So this severe shock, if you take damage, you draw this randomly, it will now fill up slot 3. And then as it stays on your character board, you will have to deal with the ramifications of taking this damage. Eventually, it will fall off because of resting and because of the way the timer system works. I think this damage system is really cool. I love the way that it interacts with your various cards and your various cooldown slots. I really do like how these cooldown slot systems work because you will be getting your cards back into your hand to use later. Very similar to the system that I really did enjoy in Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, so I do like that quite a bit. I like it better than something like Gloomhaven, where you have to permanently give up a card eventually. You'll never, as far as I can tell, you will never have to permanently give up a card during a mission. Your cards will always be cycling in and out of your hand, and that I really do like. And I like the way that you can build up all of these different combinations and how all of the various elements of the game come together and they work together in a cohesive way that creates some really good tactical and strategic decisions. Let's take a little look at the map and just kind of show how a game would play. So while the game doesn't take up a huge amount of table space, it's very easy for me to get this game set up on my table. It is a little hard to get it all into camera, so I'm going to have to kind of condense the board a little bit here to where we can make this example work. So it's going to be a little messy, but just bear with me here. So this is your action token here. This tells you if your character has gone or not. And so this is your character can activate. This is your character has been activated. So we'll say that Basilisk hasn't been activated yet. Each of the missions, when there are enemies on the board, it will tell you which enemy card will dictate their AI. And then you just initiate their AI according to their initiative on their base. Now, the prototype here has very kind of handmade bases. The game will ship with bases that will have their initiative value and a little dial to keep track of their hit points. And on the enemy standees, you will have all of their information. So that is their range. That's how much they can move. That's how much damage they can do. That is how much armor they have. And that is how many hit points they have. And so let's say that it was Basilisk's turn right now, and he is right here. And we have this one guard over here. This door is not there anymore because I've opened the door. And then we have also these two thugs at initiative 1 and 2. So let's say it was Basilisk's turn here, and I have this a plasma blaster within a range of 3. And if you see on the dots, if you see on the map here, there are these dots, and those mean that these spaces are clear, so they have line of sight. You can shoot through anything. You can shoot through different characters. Basically, you can see through, you can draw a line of sight from one square to the next, so long as your line doesn't cross a red bordered space there. So red bordered spaces are what you want to look out for. So Basilisk could draw a line of sight 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. He needs to move 1 to be in range of his blaster gun there. So I'm going to play my basic move. So my basic move will allow me to move 1, and it will also allow me to roll a d6. So now I can move 2, or I can move 1 and add a shield. So let's say I'd already used a couple of my shields in a previous turn. I'm going to go ahead and take the shield, so I'll bump my shield up to 1, and then I will move 1, getting Basilisk in range in order to use my plasma blaster. Okay, so this is a 0, so this comes right back to my hand. I can use that again right now. On a character's turn, you can take 2 actions. So now I'll play my plasma blaster here, and this says that I can deal 2 damage to an enemy within a range of 3. If the enemy has a shield, get +1 dice on your next action this turn. So that's something that you would want to play at the beginning of your turn so you can get that extra d6. It's this plasma blaster is somehow interacting with the shield that that enemy might have. So I'll place that on 2. Then I get to add a d6 here. And I get a +1. So now I'm doing 3 damage instead of 2. So I will do 3 damage to this enemy here, but he blocks 1 with his shield. So that means that 2 damage goes through. He has a health of 4. So I'll add 2 damage to this guard here, and now he would have 2 left. After you've taken your turn, all of the enemies get to go. Well, actually not all of them, because it kind of it flip-flops back and forth depending on the faction of the enemy. Right now, my enemy card is on red. So at the beginning of the next enemy turn, which it is now, I would flip that over to the other side. So now it is the yellow enemies, they get to go. And so you go in initiative order. So initiative 1, this enemy is going to move towards the last activated player. So this is initiative enemy 1 here. And the last active player was Basilis here. And so he is going to move 3 spaces towards Basilis. 1, 2, 3. And then he will attack either the same or the nearest player. And he can't shoot through the wall. And he has a range of 4. But because of that wall, he can't shoot. So he will do nothing. Now, the next initiative player, or the next initiative for the enemies here is initiative 2. They will move towards the last activated player. And they will move 3, and then they will attack the same or nearest player, and then they will attack the second nearest player. Now, the same, if it your character can't be both unless it's the same. So if it was the same character as Basilis, and then it said the same character again, Basilis could be twice. Basilis cannot be the nearest and the second nearest player, so you won't be attacked twice with this card. So let's move the guard here. They will move up to 3, 1, 2. They will move the fewest spaces they want to get into range, that they need to get into range. Now he can see Basilis because through this open door at a range of 4, and they're going to do 1 damage to Basilis, but Basilis has some armor, so I will lose a point of armor to prevent that damage from it going through. And that's kind of how a basic turn on the map works. Now, throughout the game, there will be a whole bunch of different things that you can interact with. And right now, let's take a flip through the map book just so you can see some of the things in store for you, because it's not just all kind of these interior gray style map spaces or map tiles here. Again, this is a prototype. These are all printed out just on paper, so I'm sure that the official version will be glossy and just be a lot higher quality, but these still look really nice. So here are just some of the various maps that you might be working with. As you can see, there are a lot of different configurations. There are different kinds of places that you might be exploring. A lot of this art is placeholder. But you will have, outdoors and snowy environments, or indoors here in kind of office environments, various kinds of facilities. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of variety in the kind of places you will be adventuring in. And that is super cool. I could see this map book actually just being really handy for playing any kind of a little sci-fi skirmish games. Maybe your games of kill sample process or something. You might want to get one of these map books just to play on that. And then also let's take a quick thumb through the campaign book just so you can kind of see the layout here. So again, you will have your cutscenes in between where you will be interacting with the various NPCs. And there are different choices. So if you succeed, you might progress to one page. If you fail, you might progress to another. This game does seem to employ some fail forward mechanisms. You won't just end your game or end your campaign just because you failed one mission. There seems to be a lot of places to go, a lot of different branching paths. I don't think you'll be playing through every mission in the book. You'll probably be skipping some as you make choices. And the little pamphlet I got said that this is book 1 of 3 various campaigns. So they are planning a ton of stuff for this game. And again, 16 different characters, all kinds of different unlocks, a huge stack of enemy standees. So there's going to be a lot of enemies. There are a whole bunch of different enemy AI cards. So you never really know what kind of enemy AI you will be facing off against. You might, from one mission to the next, you might be facing off against the same thugs, the same kind of enemy, but they might have different AI that will make them act completely different and have different kinds of attacks and different kinds of tactics and strategies. So I think that is super cool. So overall, there's a lot going for Rogue Angels. And again, I think if you're a pretty big fan of something like Mass Effect and you want something like Mass Effect on your table that can be played solo, let's talk about solo just for a brief minute. When you play solo, you have to play with two heroes. And that's the way that I like to play these kinds of games anyways, is with two heroes, because you get that interaction. And there are a lot of moments during the game that you will want to plan a strategy, you will want to execute a certain kind of tactic, knowing that your other characters have your back. And a lot of the characters, some of their abilities will allow their allies to do things. So you might interact with a console, but if you spend a point here, you can move an ally. So if you spend one of your blue tokens, you can actually have another ally move. So you can do one thing on your turn, spend a token, and have your ally do something on your turn. That is super cool. And yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. I like the bag draw system for interacting. I like that little kind of mini game, almost like a lock picking mini game in something like Starfield. Starfield has an awesome lock picking mini game. I'm really enjoying Starfield. I like how the various characters have their own dossier, that you will be able to keep track of the progress of their NPC relationship progress. And each character will have their own little storybook that you can go through, probably kind of like that little system in Secrets of the Lost Station, which that is one thing that I did like about that game, is those personal storybooks. It allowed the players to get to know their character and to read about their character's backgrounds and desires and that kind of thing. I think that adds some cool kind of RPG elements to a game. But yeah, if you're looking for a new, big, epic campaign, a sci-fi campaign game with some cool RPG elements, lots of tactics and strategy, clever card play, augmented with some luck from the dice, with a currency system that you can spend to make your character's abilities more powerful, and the ability to upgrade a spaceship base in between missions and add new cards as you play, I think you will like Rogue Angels quite a bit. Me, personally, I know the kind of gamer I am. If I bought this game, I would barely see any of it, just because I personally don't play a lot of these campaign games, these narrative campaign games, enough to justify the purpose. I just know that. I know the kind of gamer I am. I know that about myself. I think this game looks interesting. I personally don't know if I'll be backing it, just because I probably won't ever play through a single campaign book. And if they are actually going to be offering 3 campaigns, that is so much content. That is so much game. And I'm pretty sure they're going to stick with standees for the enemies. The heroes will also come with standees, but because it's Kickstarter, I'm sure there will be some kind of stretch goal for minis for the for the heroes. But I think because they are keeping the enemies as standees, that will keep the price down. And I love when standees have their stats on the standee, so you don't have to reference another card. That's one thing that I love about Secrets of the Lost Tomb, is the enemy cards they act as the standee and the information card. So really a good use of space and a good use of components there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy taking a preview look at Rogue Angels. And Kickstarter is in a couple days, this September 6th, I believe. September 6th? Yeah, it's either the 4th or the 6th. It's either, I think it's September 6th. But I will post a link in the pinned comment below, so if you want to check out more and gather more information. So, all right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.